Ladies and Germans, how you all doing? This is Con Ulrich.
Hello, hello, hello.
And folks, we're back with some more monthly tournament action. Yes, this is the 50-minute tap-out time tournament. Today on Tannenberg, so a lot of T's there. But Ryan, who do we have? I don't see a whole lot of T's in these names.
Left hand side in the blue, we have Robert playing 20th Panzer with a Vanguard income. And right hand side in red, we have Stardekk playing as 84th Guards Infantry with a Maverick income. And he's going to be getting some eyes on early on without T2 flying over the lines.
Yeah, TU2, 84th, 20th. There's a lot of numbers being thrown around here. But I think one of the things I'm looking forward to the most is, perversely, that Vanguard income. I don't know why. I feel like we see Maverick a good chunk. We see, heck, even some battle stuff. But Vanguard, especially when we have a 50-minute time, like what should we be expecting here, sir?
Yeah, it's honestly a pretty risky move against Maverick, because usually that B phase income becomes a bit more useful, and especially at the time it comes in, you get a bit more of a better control on the front line. So it's very much on, the pressure on for her Robert to make the push happen. And so far, pretty standard deployments all over. It seems like Robert's going to be trying to focus a bit more up north.
Kind of interesting here is that we actually have super early anti-air being brought on out from the Soviets. IL-2 actually coming the other direction here, and he's making a gun run. Interesting.
Yeah, it's got the 37s, which are actually pretty good against 20th, as it's a lot of later armor. Those Marder runs and Panzer IIIs are quite vulnerable to that IL-2.
And that's the thing, though, too, is that if they are not able to engage it effectively, though, those P3Ls can cause a heck of a lot of damage. I think we're going to see another run happening here. Yeah, getting a little more set up. But no, he's losing a line of sight on that. Guess I didn't quite appreciate those tiny little stands of trees.
It's quite the interesting matchup against awful good shot in Namada, as they
Yes,
don't
indeed.
have a whole lot of armor. They get some Su-76s, and in this case one card of T-34s in B phase. Apart from that, you're relying on the IS-2s, and we've usually seen time and time again that having to rely on, especially super heavy tanks and run V1s, doesn't really bode out well for you.
No, it doesn't. But it's actually kind of funny to look over here in the center of the map just to kind of see a little bit of what is going on there. And let me be more precise here. We have ourselves like a flame wars going back and forth, and you look at the movement orders, they look like a thing of missile command somewhere. Just back and forth. I mean, Chernos, flame troops. The Chernos, of course, gonna get rickety wrecked here pretty quickly. And actually, is there any officer there? Yes, there's one officer, so that's the most important guy in this entire push.
Yeah, it is going to get absolutely hot in that forest. We've got the Russian flame troops coming in now, and the Avtomachikis. It's just a very effective concentration of power here from her Robert. He's managing to pick off these Russian troops one by one. We're all seeing the reinforcements coming in, and this could get pretty damn close.
I thought you were going to say there's a lot of firepower there.
Oh yeah, there is a lot of firepower, that's for damn sure.
Unfortunately, having that Komoroti over here behind the front lines is actually going to go quite against Herr Robert's troops. Basically, not being able to efficiently or effectively really be pushing that back or forcing the surrenders, which I actually would argue is even more important.
Yeah, that's definitely gonna swing momentum into Stardekk's favor in the center, because there's nothing really being brought out to try and reinforce that forest. And if you lose that forest position, it can prove to be quite fatal, because it's a pain in the ass to take back, and it gives you such good coverage over the rest of the map.
By the way, P3L to the northern side goes down. Actually, we see a second one being brought in here. I think that was the IL-2. And because of it, we see a Flak 43 being brought on in from the Germans' side of things. But that's not going to be anywhere near enough, I don't think.
Yeah, her Robert is not exactly gaining the momentum in this very critical A phase. He's losing the center. He hasn't really managed to make much progress up north. And that can prove to be quite fatal once you get into B phase, as that income disparity gets pretty heavy. Especially if the heavy tanks being brought out at that time.
True. I mean, 2 IS-2s doesn't sound like a lot, but those T-34Es are reasonable. Are they perfect? No. Or as the Russians might say, niet. But, there's still 9 of them, and that's not German, but actual 9. So we have a lot of issues going to be happening over here for Herr Robert as we go into B phase.
Oh, an early IS-2 being brought up north to zone out that area. And that could prove to be quite a bloody useful unit. He does have the anti-air already set up to protect it from potential bombing runs, which would be the biggest threat. But that's especially up north where it's quite open in the
Hmm.
town. You can get some very good long-range coverage with that IS-2.
Yeah, and that's exactly just trying to point out over here on my side with showing off some of the line of sight. Biggest concern though is if you want to aggress really into picking up a couple of those flags, you can probably get one of those pretty easily. You see the PTRS is actually, edge guarding over here. Um, but too much further, you might have a bit of a hassle. And let's not forget that the IS-2 does not have the greatest ammo overall.
No, it takes bloody forever for that gun to reload, which is really its main detriment.
And a BF-109 is going to make a very opportunistic run. I don't think this is going to happen for him. If he's able to get the shot, yep, there we go. That's kind of a waste. You know, aircraft utilization ends up being such an important thing, especially if you get forced off. Oh, it's like the worst thing in the world to be watching.
Yeah. But her Robert definitely, it feels like he has a good opportunity to make good headway up north. There's 1, 2, 3 flags which he could get under his control relatively easily. The IS-2 is still there, but he can potentially zone out if he uses smoke, for example, or an off-map artillery. It's really the infantry in front which are denying him from getting the positions currently.
For some reason, that looked like it was going to be like a pack track. Which there's a piece of me that kind of feels like that Buffalo should be a pack, some kind of minor pack track. That doesn't look like it's just a single MG34 on there. But besides the point. Also, a bit of a shame here, but the Flak 88 is going to get pinged on out awful quickly.
Yeah, he is taking quite a bit of damage. We've also seen the Panzer Grenadiers being brought on in to try to make some rather critical headway here. We've also seen reinforcements of Su-76s as well as a 50mm mortar as well. So yeah,
Well,
how
and the,
Robert needs to make his push happen up north. He really doesn't have a whole lot of time.
well, and there's this three operating in that artillery role should not be overlooked.
Oh yeah.
You can see right now that's the one who's got the 88 down pretty easily here. Now the 50 mils, they are in the front lines. I got two of them right there. Unfortunately, we are not going to see one of them after very long. It's a 220 off map. That's not going to be something fun to be dealing with.
Well, Stardekk has spotted it. Wonder if he's going to try and punish it off map or maybe a bombing run, but not currently.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to necessarily be able to have that happen. But the P3L is also taking out one of the 50 mil mortars, which, good, don't get me wrong, but I feel like the P3s should be engaging other tanks and not necessarily the artillery positions.
The same thing in the model run. He needs to
Yep.
start moving up a bit, probably towards the southern end of the town to help zone out against the Su-76s. He has the off-map artillery strike, the half-track going in for the classic rush tactic.
And
They
he
get the
might
surrenders.
Yep. Yes, he does.
Very good at some very critical positions that he's managed to clear out. Really even get the anti-air out would be very clutch if he could do that.
He should. There we go.
Yes, that's very good, because now he can start bringing up his BF-109 to start pounding away. The Su-76s are slowly getting picked off, and as we enter the twilight of A phase, her Robert is making some good bloody ground.
That's true. That's true. Now, the half track's probably going to go down pretty quickly here. I mean, especially as the ultimate cheekies drop out and start throwing off their little softball anti-tank grenades. But he has caused a weakness, and we have analyzed their attack pattern, and there is a danger. Is it a great one? No. I wouldn't say the Soviets should necessarily evacuate in the moment of triumph, but I will say that the lines up here look awful porous after a while.
Yeah, and
P3L does go down.
her Robert hasn't really committed his forces to his troop. He still has a few Panzer Grenadiers and other infantry sitting back when, after off-map struck, he needed to just kind of full send everything to try to get positions into that town. But as we see, Stardekk has managed to reinforce a bit with a few infantry squads, which is once again going to slow down any further advances.
Yes, but now we have the BFs coming right back in. Those
Oh,
guys are best friends, 109 times over. One of those has the potential to take out the SU-76. Yep, there we go. And the machine gun goes down as well. And this is where things are going to get very, very dicey for the Soviets, especially now. As the Flak 88 doesn't have to worry about any kind of artillery. We got that 37 mil. It's going to add a lot of pom poms over there. This could be a high tide over here for the Germans. You could say we've gone away from the Twilight into more of a Breath of the Wild kind of idea. So,
I didn't know we were playing on the Switch.
oh no, there's definitely a switch happening here. We aren't switching into B phase though, too. So this could be a very, very hard time to push. It could be a very, very interesting opportunity.
Yeah, he still has a bit of momentum left over from the A phase income. Of course, it takes a couple minutes really for the income disparity to really flips over into Stardekk's favour. We are seeing a second off-map strike as well as a horde of Ursat troop, and he won't be left in reserve this time, but going straight for the front.
True, and Brother Stalin is actually over here on the map as well. So the Germans not willing to let the IS-2, hold high court here. More than happy to be engaging a lot of this material.
Then just taking a quick look at the rest of the map, the southern side is
Well, check out the
eerily
center.
quiet. And centre. It's a
Well, the center's
bit of a
interesting
push.
because these heat grenades, the PG-43s, RPG-43s, half tracks are not going to be able to get enough suppression on that. Not by anywhere near enough to stop them from actually coming in and just nuking them. It's a bit of a
Really
hassle.
just getting that PTRS squad up to pick them off. Because, yeah, it's at a pretty good location for Stardekk to actually put a lot of pressure here, and that would definitely take the wind out of her Robert's northern push. It's just an information game where he's probably thinking is much more in that forest in the center, and it actually is. It's really just two half tracks, a depleted Stoss troop, and a Pack 40 who definitely does not want to be here.
True. Very, very true. I'm watching the crazy nonsense here between the Martyr and the IS-2, and the IS-2 is actually almost running out of shells in the first place. He is operating about like a 20 or 30% load overall, so this could be quite a bit of an issue.
Yeah, and the boy to Stalin as well is in a fantastic position to zone out the Soviets at long range. You've always got to, make good use of that boy to Stalin and 20th Panzer. It can be an absolute powerhouse, and her Robert brought it in just at the right time.
Yes.
Instead of, using it earlier on to fight CQC in the town, he's brought it up now to zone out the edge of the town.
Yes, and he has. No, I do. We are getting the minor push, so 2.5 tracks apparently is enough for the Automachikis to get pinned down in the center, so just calling the quick out there. Superior Rock's moving in, though, too, so while the Automachiki squad is missing quite a few of its members, Superior might prove the superior kind of push here.
Yeah, this is... Oh, and because they're in armored transports, the 2-5 runs didn't shoot at him. Very interesting.
Exactly.
Yes, if Stardekk was to fully commit to his push, he can really do a lot of damage to his northern push here, because that's going to be a lot of resources her Robert has to invest in clearing the forest. And 20 Panzer has alright CQC infantry, but forest fights aren't exactly our forte.
Yeah, the 20, you're right. Not really the forest fighters you might be expecting, really, overall. Absolutely correct there, sir.
As we get into, the climax of this northern push, it's going to be much harder for her Robert to really exploit any more ground any further. He could potentially get, one flag where the Avtomachikis are, but the far northern flag, or the Chernos, that's a bit of a push. And the one where the Cis-3 is, that's also a bit of a push. It's kind of hard to get any more ground at this point.
I agree provisionally, because let's not forget, we still do have one more off-map barrage. Now, there's a 2 or 3 coming the other direction, so this is quite important here. If the boy to Stalin survives and doesn't get, pinned out, that could be something very, very good. Off-map goes down, courtesy of the OB-25. But the boy to Stalin push-up pulls back. So, yes, I do think the momentum is low, but there's still, I think, enough smoke. There's still enough firepower. I think there's still enough for a push here. Is it going to be a great, game-winning charge? Nah, probably not. You can see we have a bunch of Chernos. We have another IS-2 being brought on in. But I wouldn't count it out just yet.
It's just going to be about whether he can, kill those two IS-2s and then commit further. He still has a lot of resources in that town, but he's playing much more defensively still. And looking down south, it's just, or in the center, it's pretty much completely collapsed here. Stardekk is very easily gaining control of this entire forest complex.
But here's the interesting thing, too, about the forest, especially on Tannenberg. These forests don't matter the same way, in my mind. Yes, you're able to control some territory right around it. You might be able to pick up this flag to the west, northwest of that Flak 88. But you don't have the same ability on this map to have some like crazy cavalry charge out of the forest into the northern side of the southern side. This isn't the the Protestant Heights here. It's important. Yes, IS-2 goes down courtesy of the 88. It's important. Don't get me wrong.
Good kill.
But this isn't the game-winning push anymore. There's not a plurality of flags other than what's going on. He's captured the middle, but he can't exploit anything further. So
yeah,
I don't know.
I don't think he really needs to exploit too much further in the middle. It's mainly
fair.
just keeping the 1311 for the income tick to... Well, I'd say tick into his favour, but actually I forgot Vanguard C phase is slightly better. So actually this could be... If her Robert can just survive his... Well, I say survive his B phase, but he's still ticking pretty badly.
Well,
oh no,
little
it's dicey.
Katya. Little Katya's going to start to speak. In fact, Katya, the twin sisters Katya, are on the northern side, and they're going to be going after that 37 mil, which, given the concentration of troops, that could be very, very bad.
Yeah. And we've seen, it's always like 50-50 whether you use the Katyusha or rocket artillery in general as an anti-air platform. There's been replays where they've been absolute king, and other replays where it's like, what the hell are you doing, buddy? Your front line's collapsing, the anti-aircraft gun in the rear is not going to be that much of an issue.
In this case, I actually kind of agree with it, just because from the perspective of the IL-2, it picks it up here.
There we go.
The IL-2, and you can see right now PE2, PE3s, the TU2Fs, this is going to be what kind of stymies, I think, a lot of that push. Will it be enough? Yeah, I'm sorry.
I definitely like how he followed up immediately with the air attack after he knocked out the anti-aircraft gun. Of course, there's sort of a second reserve anti-aircraft gun, but that was a good use of, I say seed tactics from Wargame. It's like World War II seed.
Absolutely. Worth mentioning, though, middle of the map, actually completely take... Oh, Verframen! Oh my gosh, he's aiming for the Katyushas! Oh,
Parry issue, casual.
Yes! So, it's not often we get to see tube artillery get countered by spring artillery, but that's... There we go. Alright.
That was great.
Central position in the meantime. There's a Panzerschreck over here that might be able to pick up this half-track without too much of an issue. But there's also a whole swath of Pioneer troops against Chernoz. So the center, which looked so strong for the Soviets even a few minutes ago, is at 1311 now in favor of the Germans.
Yeah, I'm actually very impressed how Herr Robert managed to actually string his central position. It's actually great use of the half-tracks to provide adequate fire support. And that's because in that central position there wasn't a whole lot of anti-tank rifle troops. It's not like a horde of Strelky DPs or PTRDs to pick off your half-tracks.
That's true. I'm wondering, actually, just thinking about the point values for the Katyushas, about a full income tick went to the Katyushas to the north. Do you think that might have been the wisest? Obviously, of course, we get to play hindsight's 2020. Another airstrike coming in. But do you think that was the finest use, necessarily, of income?
Yeah, it's mainly just allows him to open up his aircraft. Because as you see, he's doing another aircraft strike. Because if he didn't, knock out the anti-air, his aircraft's going to be much more useless for the rest of the match. It opened up the skies for him. Of course, he really should have relocated to Katyusha after it fired, because he's down quite a bit of firepower now.
Well, I was going to say, why not spend that entire income tick over here to the center, or at least space out the Katyusha bring in? At that point, maybe you put in 80 points worth of Katyusha and the other 90 points over here towards the central position, because I feel like Herr Robert halted his push to the north to put an entire income tick for himself in the center.
Yeah,
They're
no, it's
certainly
definitely
paying
a
dividends.
good, like, change momentum on her Robert's side, and really for Stardekk, his best bet in the center is just hold that flag, hide deep in the forest, the half-tracks can't get you, yeah, and just flame any German who dares get close.
That's true, unless we have BF-109 to come in, they're going to just absolutely obliterate two superior squads in the PTRS. Here it comes.
Oh, and they're so
This is...
bounced.
Yes. And human Zippo letters. So, as the human Zippos are pinned down, and I think how much there's really left? About half strength for the half tracks firing on them. So it got very dicey very quickly here.
Yeah, honestly, the lack of really anti-tank for Stardekk is really screwing him over. He doesn't have many... I think he still has a few T-34s left he could throw into the center, but anti-tank guns, not a whole lot, only a phase cards. He brought out his last IS-2, and just these half-tracks, even though they're not, the scariest unit, he's getting full value out of them because there's nothing to stop him.
Now we are seeing a bit of an abortive push over here in the southern side. Excuse me, as the half track starts to engage jeeps, and probably going to sign his own death warrant because of it. Yep. What a brave man.
Right, we're the ones who's supposed to have Panzerschrecks.
Exactly. But the southern side, actually, I appreciate the fact that we are seeing a tiny push, because I feel like there's 3 flags here that, for a modicum of effort from the Germans, can be picked up pretty easily.
Yeah, he's slowly making good momentum. Does lose an 88, but there's only one IS-2 left, so it's not... once he deals with IS-2, he pretty much has anti-tank supremacy.
Verframen, in the meantime, I wonder if the Katyusha is waiting for the Verframen to fire, so that way he goes after him. But we are aiming over here with the Verframen. Never mind, we are not aiming any longer. So I think we're going to end up having one of those they know that I know that they know kind of moments as the Katyusha finishes its reload cycle.
Yeah. IS-2 taking a big boy hit to the front. Takes it like an absolute champ. Yeah, other Pak-43s getting into position. And if he knocks out IS-2, his whole northern position is pretty much buggered.
Oh, man. Oh, come on, the gloriousness is right there. Well, the Verframen is going. That's for darn sure. The P3L, jeez, again. I think you're right. I think that's the final one. And oh my gosh, the idiot's gonna get pinged out if he's not careful. Oh no, the Katyusha's firing short. That doesn't sound like it's super important, but that's crazy important in this case.
That's a very ineffective barrage, because see, the 88 is getting into position, and there you go. IS-2, more like ISU.
Well,
I don't know what it even means, actually.
I'm not entirely sure either. I was trying to figure that out. I was like IOU? But
I sounded much cooler in my head. But then I realized an ISU is also an actual tank. Or it's
yes, it is.
Gun.
Yes, it is. I didn't call it a ZSU. At that point, I'd be like, okay, I'm not sure where we're going at this point. But
anyway, GG.
Indeed. Stardekk sees the writing on the wall, says, hey, that's not in Cyrillic, and decides to kind of tap out, which I think is probably a pretty good call at this point. Kills, about what we expect here, and I think a lot of it comes down to losing those IS-2s, losing those kind of earlier, basically, well, all the ISUs.
Yeah, and then
you got me doing it now.
I know. Losses, planes doing decent, Panzer III doing decent. Yeah, some decent pickoffs all over, but that's a problem with 84th is, well, especially in that case, not a whole lot of anti-tank, and that's a rather open map. Where 20th Panzer may not have the panzerest of panzers, but the panzers can panzer enough to push the point.
I'm just admiring how many times you said panzers. I was just thinking to myself, if I had a student right now, I'd be like, panzers to the 4th power. And I was like, what would that look like, a panzer, aquatic panzer? But I'll leave such philosophy for another day. For now, I've got to agree with you. I mean, I kind of feel like bringing in the twin sisters Katyusha ended up being the beginning of the end, which is a very, very strange thing for me to kind of say.
Yeah, it's just lost out on. I think he just didn't have a whole lot of frontline fire support left to even bring in.
I agree. I agree. But there we are. Well played to here, Robert. I thought with the Vanguard that was going to be a lot worse than it ended up being. So,
Same here.
well played. Indeed. Folks, of course, come back Thursday for some more material. But for the time being, I think that's all we have to do for today, unless you have anything else, sir.
Oh.
Well, in that case, folks, until next time, I'm Conal Work.
I'm Rangaroo. Take it easy.